Hello everyone, and welcome to the third video in the 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up series on 3dbuzz.com. In this video we're going to be making an in-depth implementation plan for Phase 1 base game setup, getting it ready for the next video where we put the entire plan into action. So, first things first, what do we want to have at the end of this video? What we're going to have is, well, not end of this video, end of this phase. We're going to have the entire game flow or game control, I guess we could call it, working and in action, so we don't have to worry about doing any of this anymore after. So, first one, when you turn on the game, have the title screen. I ran out of space, lucky me. And all it's going to do is sit on the title screen, waiting for the player or user to press start. Now, once they do that, it's going to take control away from the title screen and give control to the menu. And on the menu we're going to have three items to play with. There's going to be a play game, there's going to be a how to play, and there's going to be an exit or quit, whichever one you would like to call it. I'm going to call mine exit. So, if the user activates the play game, which they navigate the main menu with the arrow keys or gamepad, they're going to go ahead and be taken to the play game. Where they actually play the game and everything happens. They beat up enemies and help Tony save his daughter. On to the how to play button. If they do that, they'll be taken to the how to play screen. And if they click the exit button, it's going to quit the game. Now, we're not going to set this one up to do any kind of double checking of are you sure you want to quit, because I'm just going to assume they said exit because they wanted to exit. If you would like to add it in the other way, go ahead, but this one video is my way or the highway. That highway might take you to where you want to go with a double checking on the exit. That's up to you. I'm going to do it my way. So, let's go ahead and look at what it is we are going to need for this to happen. First things first is the Game 1 class, which of course we already get when we start up the entire project. So what are we going to need to add into this one? We're going to need to add in the constants for game width and height, or screen width, and screen height, H-E-I-G-H-T. Width is going to be 800, its height 600. We're going to need to add in a sprite font because we need to display press start there, and on the main menu we're also going to need to use text for play game, how to play, and exit, and anywhere else we might need text later on in the game. We're going to have our sprite font set up. And we're going to call this one sprite font, no, that's type. It's going to be called font small. We're also going to set up another one, sprite font large, for if we want to use small fonts or big fonts. We've got both our bases covered whenever we need to use either. We are also going to need to add in a bool called quit game, or actually I should call it exit game, keeping in line with the thing being called exit. And we're also going to do two quick little adjustments to it, or adding into the initializing thing. The initialize method, I should call it, not a thing, is going to make the mouse pointer visible. Which is really something for me, not for you. It could be for you as well if you wanted it that way, but so I can actually see where my mouse is pointing at when I'm trying to describe things on the screen. And we're also going to need to give our game a title. So it has something nice showing up in the bar for us. Okay, that's the bits we're going to need there. So we'll just cut that off. Game 1, and look at the methods we're going to need to add in. and they are create menu items, which will just simply make the menu items for us, get them all ready, so when we do get onto the menu, we will have our menu items already ready and waiting to be used. We're also going to add in a create levels, now what this one here does is up in play game, we're going to be using, this is going to be controlled by a level class. Which we'll be taking a look at in just a moment. But what we're going to do here is have it ready so when we want to create more than one level, we can have, we've already got the level already set up, and our game in the game manager, which we're looking at next, already has its creating levels set up as well. And the final one we want to add in is exit game. Now, how does exit game work? Well, let's look at that in the what happens in the update method, which we're going to do as well right now. Game 1, start update. What do we want it to do? First things it needs to do is update the input states. Which is done by our input helper.update. What else are we going to do after that? Well, then we're going to need to check, is the game going to quit? Which is a simple if exit game equals true, exit game. Then what we do is call game manager.update. And pass it in game time. And that's all our game1.update class is going to be doing. Anything else it wants to do is you can add on some more things if you'd like it to, but really I'm going to leave it here for our thing because the game manager handles everything else. And let's take a look-see at just what that game manager class is. Do I have enough space here? I probably do. I'll stop that one there. So, game manager class. What does it do? What is this game manager that I keep speaking of? What it does is the game manager tells the game which one of these screens to give control to. Let's write here, game manager. How good am I writing that completely off screen? I swear that says game manager over here. Let's just game manager. Yeah, there we go, that works with a capital G. Rightio, what the game manager, when it gets updated, it says, okay, well, what am I doing at the moment? Am I in the menu state? Am I on the title screen? Am I supposed to be playing the game? What do you want me to do? And what do you want me to do accordingly? So, that's all it really does. It just sits there and says, okay, it's on the title screen at the moment. Well, let's give the control over to the menu class, because it's going to be the one taking care of the title screen. And it says, well, if you're in the menu class, let's just give it to the menu class. Are you playing the game? Well, you're not on the menu. Let's give control over here to the levels class. Draw him a little faded and soft because he's so far away. And if you're exiting the game, well, then it didn't really reach game manager. It quitted before. Or exited. So the game manager class, all it really needs is three simple things. It needs a enum called game state. Now there's three states that the game manager has, and they are come on, what are you loading? There we go. Now it's going to have three things available to it, which is main menu, how to play, and play game. We'll call it playing. There we go. It's also going to need to have a list of levels. levels. And we need to know which level is the current level that we're looking at. So we're going to call that int current level. And that is all we need to add in for there. So let's look at the methods of what we've got for it. They're not very good. They're a little better. We need to have an update method, which of course takes in game time. We're going to need a draw method, which takes in our sprite batch, and a second sprite batch, which, how horrible am I for not even mentioning this one before. And we'll get into that in just a moment. And it's going to have one more go to next level. We're not going to be implementing this one in this video, or in this part of the phase. We're going to be leaving that one till much later when we've actually got multiple levels set up. So why am I taking in a sprite batch and a second sprite batch, which we need to come back up here to game 1 and add in that it needs. Sprite batch by 2, because we're setting up a second one. Rightio. Well, when we're in the level and we're updating the game and everything like that, we're going to have 2 sprite batches. One, which is sprite batch, the original one, or SB. What this does is when you draw it, it has to be able to use everything via layer depth. So we can have things hiding behind other things in the backgrounds, make sure they're drawn in the background. I don't want to have to worry about making sure we draw everything in the correct order with all the different lines of code we're going to have, because that will get quite annoying, especially when we've got backgrounds and foregrounds and players between the two. It's going to be annoying trying to check, are you a background or are you a foreground? Okay, you're a background, you can be drawn now. You're a foreground, you've got to wait till later because the players haven't been drawn yet. That's too annoying. So we're going to have all that one there set up with layer depths, and which is very cool, very fun. But that leaves some other problems, because these HUD environments, or not the environments, just the HUD themselves, we want them to always be drawn on top no matter what. Now, using layer depths, you can go ahead and say, just set it to 0, and then it'll always be drawing everything on top of everything. But if you've got everything set to 0 and there's some overlaps, there can be some flickering, or sometimes things won't show up exactly how you want them, even if you've got them all drawing in a sequential order. At least that's what I found. So we're going to have a separate one, a sprite batch HUD, which is going to just always draw everything the standard way we're used to, which is line by line by line. Whatever was drawn latest is drawn on top, and that's why we've got 2 sprite batches. And we'll get more into that when we actually get into layer depths and the like, and you'll see what we mean. So the game managers.update. Game manager.update, which is taking in game time. Well, what it does is it checks out a switch statement, and it bases itself off game state. And it checks, okay, what am I? Case, am I on the main menu? And if I am, then I'm going to say menu manager.update. Now, I'm not going to be giving the menu manager's update game time, because really we don't need it. Break. You can add it in there if you'd like for your game. Next, we've got case. I'm just going to write game state for that. Now play. Now if you're on that, don't think it really does anything. I'm just going to double check that off screen here. Oh yes, of course it does something. It awaits input. Await input meaning await input to go back. Back to the menu. Break, running out of space, so I'll just scroll down some more. I can't scroll anymore. We'll just fit this one here and then. Okay, which is finally case game state dot playing. And what this does is it checks out which level from our current level list am I supposed to be updating. Well, I'm going to pass control over to that one there then. Levels, current level, dot update, and pass it in game time. No space to write switch on break on the bottom, but it's there, and that's all we need there. Same thing. We'll cut this one here off a bit. And we'll go this way for that. Rightio, so what about game manager.draw? SB, sprite batch, and sprite batch HUD. Well, what this one does is pretty much the same thing. It does a switch based off game state, and if it's on the menu manager, it tells menu manager.draw. So we'll say menu manager.draw. I'm going to be seriously lazy here. It's going to take in the sprite batch.hud because we don't need any kind of layer depthing on that one. Next one is the how to play screen. Which is actually done in the no, it's done right here. How to play. How to play doesn't get passed anywhere. It draws its own thing. Draws itself from within the game manager. And then the playing, which does levels, current level, dot draw. Now the levels needs to take in both sprite batch and sprite batch.hud, or sprite batch HUD, not sprite batch.hud. There we go, sprite batch.hud. What that does is because it needs to do both layer sorting by layer depth, and it also needs to go ahead and take care of the HUD as well while it's at it. So that's all for the Game Manager class. Let's take ourselves back up here and set up a new one and get rid of you. Next up, we needed the Menu Manager class. Now, what the Menu Manager class needs is an enum for menu state, which has two options, title screen and main menu. Also needs to have a struct of type menu item, and this one here is so that we can actually store the menu item. We'll take a look-see at that one in just a moment. What are the menu items? It needs a list of type menu item, called menu items, and we need to know which menu item we're currently on, so int current menu item. we go. And that is all those. And what methods do we have inside our menu manager class? Well, we're going to need an update. Doesn't need to take in game time, and draw, which does need to take in a sprite batch. Now, as I said before, we're going to be passing it sprite batch HUD, but inside the game manager we don't need to really call it sprite batch HUD. It's its own reference from here, so we're just going to call it sprite batch. And that is all we need there. Let's take a look-see at what it does in its update call. Let's just do it with the shift key. Right, yeah, that takes too long. I might change my tactic on that one. Well, basically, it does a switch as well. Loving these switch statements. And it bases itself off menu state. Case menu state dot title screen. And here it awaits input to begin game, which in our case is going to be the start button on the gamepad. And secondly, case menu state dot main menu. Now what this one here does is it does menu navigations and actions. We're just going to write here, no, we may as well write everything out here. Menu navigation. Basically, we've got a list of menu items, so we're going to take control of the gamepad, so check for if the gamepad left thumbstick is being pressed up or down past a certain threshold, which is going to be, well, let's just write game thumbstick over threshold. Left thumbstick. Well, if it is, then go to the next game item. Which would be current menu item, which is right here. Plus, plus. Check, have we gone too far? Just making sure that we're actually still within limits of what we've done. So if we've pressed it if we've pressed it down and its menu items is now, what have we got here? We've got 0, 1, 2, so that's 3 items in there. If current menu items now gone on to number 3, well, that's going to put us out of range and going to throw a nice big error for us. Have we gone too far? Yes. Loop back meaning if we go, let's say menu item, menu item, menu item, 0, 1, 2. If we press down from here, it's going to go down. This one here is going to go down. But if we do press down on this one, I don't want it to go down here. Ah, nothing here. It doesn't exist. Error. Because that's annoying. So it's going to go down, down. If you press down, it's going to go, whoop, there's nothing here. Before we reach that error, let's go back to the start here. I'm a fan of menus which when I press the down arrow key or use the gamepad and it can go back up to the top. There's one thing that I really don't like, and that's when there's so many menu items, and then you reach the bottom and you thought, you know what, I realized I want to go to that second one right there, number 2 in the entire list, or technically number 1, and I press down and it goes, no, there is no next, so I'm not going to go anywhere. I like mine to go back to the start, so I can get to the top and go down again. So I'm going to do it that way. Once again, if you want to do it another way, up to you. Rightio, that is that. And that is menu navigation. Now we'll go for menu actions. What do we mean by this? Well, if the A button is pressed on the gamepad, well, if it was, then we want to activate whatever menu item we're on. And we're going to do that with a nested switch statement. Told ya, loving these switches, they're just great. Switch based off current menu item. There we go. Case, well, we know that we've got 3 set ones in here, so we're going to have case 0, and when I do that, I put a nice big comment on the left here saying this is play game. And what that does is, well, begins the game. Do what we need to. Which includes game manager dot game state being set to what it needs to be, equals game state dot playing. That's going to take control away from the menu manager and give it over to the game manager. And the game manager is going to say, well, that means you're in playing, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the level class and make sure the level updates itself from now on. And that's break. Case 1 is how to play. And when pressing on the how to play item, what that does is gives control over to the game state or the game manager class, and game manager says, rightio, you are on the how to play screen. So game manager dot game state equals game state dot how to play. Break. Finally, case 2, which is exit game. This one here calls game 1 dot exit game. And breaks. When you hit game1.exit game, what that does is point back to game 1, and in the exit game method it just sets the variable which we made, which is called exit game, that bool exit game, sets it equal to true, and then when the next update is called for game 1, which is very shortly after that, nothing really happens in the game. Exit game set to true, rightio, you want me to quit. And so the game goes ahead and quits itself. Pretty badly crossed out. Let's just fix that up and scribble out the scribble. Looks even worse now. And that is the menu manager's update taken care of for us there. And then that just leaves us with the menu manager's drawer. which is taking in a sprite batch. Now, what the draw does is it draws in the background of the menu. We want that one always to happen. Can have whatever you want to happen in there. Rightio, and then it goes ahead and checks, well, if you are on the title screen, then draw press start. So it does another switch based on menu state. Now, there's only two, so you could technically do it with an if state and say if menu state dot title screen, or if menu state equals to menu state dot title screen even, then draw the title screen, which is the title screen graphic, and the press start to begin, else do the other thing. Why is this all stopped working on me? Because I've reached the bottom again. How nice, no wonder. Now we'll make this one quick. And then I stop writing. Nice. Menu state dot title screen. Right. Press start. Break. Or we could be on. Okay, I'm going to come over here. I know it's messy. Well, not that bit. That's horribly messy. You go away, go away, go away, go away. That was too messy for my liking. Okay, menu state dot main menu. What we do in menu state dot main menu is we loop through all of the different ones, all of the different menu items we've got in our list. And as you go through each one, check it out. Is it currently selected? Am I the selected one? Then draw me a different color. We'll say draw me blue. Else, I'm not the selected. Draw me white. Break. So that just loops through all the menu items. Is it currently the selected one? Draw it blue. If not, that means it's not selected and it's going to be drawn white. This way we know the player can tell from looking at the screen which one is currently the one they're on, which is the blue one. Always handy to know which menu item you're on. And that covers it up for the menu manager. Wow, it took up its own page. Nice. What haven't we covered here? Well, the menu manager isn't actually finished yet. We forgot to take a look-see at the menu item struct. And all this one really needs is a vector 2 for position. And a text or string. Text so we can tell it to display what we want it to. And a draw method. In keeping with the theme for everything else. Methods. And all the draw does is check out what color do we want to be done. Oh, no, that's wrong then. You don't take in like that. Get rid of that. How dare I. Takes in a sprite batch and of course the draw color. There we go. And that's all we need for this to say here. That's the menu item taken care of. Now, finally, one more class we need to look at, which is the level class. Should have held shift. Look how bad that is. Level class. And all we're going to do is just give ourselves a basic update and draw. It's actually not going to do anything at the end of this. We're just going to be able to tell you are on the level class, or your game state is currently set to playing, some kind of thing, so that we know we're there and it's in the playing game area. It's not going to have any way of getting back. That's going to be all coded in later, just so we know we can get to the level. That's the main thing. So nothing to add. Let's go methods. Update. We will pass it game time just because it will need it at some point. It won't do anything. And draw, which will be taking in the sprite batch for layer depth drawing and the sprite batch HUD for non-layer depth drawing. You know what, we may as well tell it to draw some text. Drawstring, playing game. You are playing the game. That's all we really need for that. After level. Yep, shift's better. I'm going to be using that one. We're going to need an input helper. Which needs to update states. What are we going to need for it first? Helps if I hold down the right key. Alright, so the input helper, we're going to be focusing this one on the gamepad. So we're going to need to have a way to hold our gamepad current state and our gamepad previous state. And gamepad previous state. Gamepad is going to need to have a few different methods in it. We're going to need to have a way of telling it, have we just released a key or released the button? Button held, so we can tell if a button's been pressed and held down. And I believe that's all we're going to need for the input helper there. Yep, pretty much. And that'll get us our input helper, so we're going to have some gamepad states to be able to update there and check and pull some states off. And that, in the end, should be everything else we need. Listen to me rambling while I check over my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. No, I don't believe I am. So guys, in the next video, let's go ahead and start coding this one out and getting what we said we would have happening. That title screen to main menu, scroll through the menus, take me to the how to play screen, quit the game and play the game. That's everything we need, guys, so I will see you in the next video where we get all this going. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.